Hello my lovelies, welcome back to my channel. This is your girl Angel from Simply Angel Tia. In this video I'm going to show you guys how to crochet these fingerless gloves, and as you can see here, they look absolutely stunning. It's still the season to wear this kind of stuff, right? And I love wearing these. I work from home and sometimes it gets super chilly in the office, in my office here, and I like to just throw some of these guys on so I can still type, I can still use my phone and things like that, but a majority of my hands are warm. And especially if I have a sweater that I can just kind of pull over them like this, and then I really just have my fingers that are maybe a little bit cold but not usually that cold after I have these guys on. So anyways, long story short, well, let's make this whole storytelling short and go ahead and get started with this, because I don't think you guys want to miss making a pair of this. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. Okay guys, so quickly before I get started with the project, I'm going to show you everything that I need for it. So as you can see here, I have a ball of yarn that I have left over from a previous project that I completed. I will put all the information in the description box below, so check that out before you get started. I have my crochet hook size here, which is a 5mm crochet hook or H8 US. And then of course I'm going to need a darning needle as well as the scissors for the project. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I'm ready to get started here. So as you can see, I have a tail that I'm leaving behind here to be able to join the first part of the wrist warmer together. So I'm just going to leave a little bit longer. And of course, as per usual, we're going to start by doing a foundation chain, and I'm going to start that by doing a slip knot. Okay, so do the slip knot however you usually do it or however makes you comfortable. And when you have your slip knot like that, then we're going to do a foundation chain of 15. Okay, so 1 2 3 4 5. So this is my chain of 15. Okay, and I'm going to go in the back of the chain and do a single crochet, but I'm going to skip this first chain here right after the chain, where the hook is. I'm going to skip that. In the second one right here, I'm going to go in the back of it and do my single crochet. Okay, just like that. Then I'm going to move on to the next one, still going in the back and doing another single crochet. And you're going to do these all the way until you get to the end here. And when you get to the end here, count your stitches. You should have 15. And when you have you should have 14, my apologies. So we started with a 15 chain. We skipped the first chain to do the single crochet in the second from the hook, and therefore you should have 14 stitches by the time you reach to the end of this row. Okay, so complete that and then come back so we can start the second row together. Okay, so that is the end of our first row here. Okay, so you have 14 stitches, and then we're going to go ahead and get started with our second, which is we do a chain 1 and turn, and then we're going to work in the back of the stitches to do our single crochet stitches. So there's one right after the chain 1. We're just gonna grab the back of the stitch and do our single crochet stitch. So we're trying to create this rib effect for this first part of the wrist warmer, which is going to be the part that goes right around your wrist. Okay, so you're going to do this again until you get to the end. This is your repeat row as well, so whatever you do here is what you will do in every single row until you have the size that you want for this. So the only difference is, for those of you who are my followers here, when I get to the end, I will go through both loops as opposed to just the back loop. That's the only difference. And you repeat that in every single row that you do. You finish it off by doing single crochet stitch in the back, in both loops for the final stitch. So I'm just going to show you guys what that looks like here, and then I'll have you guys build up the number of rows you require to cover your wrist. Okay, and this is a very simple project, but it's going to look really nice. Okay, so for this final stitch here, I'm going to go through both loops just like that. Okay, and that is the end of my row 2. So for row 3, of course, we start by doing a chain 1, turn, and then you continue to do your single crochet stitches in the back of the stitches. Okay, and again, like I said, you just repeat this until you have the amount of rows that you require. I'm going to do 22 rows and that's going to be enough to cover my wrist. So as you can see, my wrist is very small. So you're going to measure your wrist and then do the number of rows that is going to cover your wrist or the wrist of the person you're making these wrist warmers for. So I'm gonna do my 22 rows and then come back when I have completed that so we can move to the next step together. Okay, see you guys in a bit. Okay, so I have gone ahead and completed the 22 rows here, as you can see. So that is the size. And again, you would have had to do the rows that would be enough for you. So as you can see here, when I join it, that's the size of my wrist for the wrist warmer. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next step of this project, and we're just going to fold our work like this so we can join this side here before we start working on it. Okay, and as you can see, we left a chain here, or we left a tail here that is long enough for us to be able to join the work. And if you didn't do so, that's not a big problem at all. You could just cut your yarn from this side and use that string to join your work here, and then you can reconnect it to start the next part of the project. But I like to do it like this so I don't have to disconnect or cut the yarn on this side to sew this area and then go back and reconnect it. So that is mainly why I do it. So it's all up to you. So now we're just gonna line up our work really nice like this. And as you can see here, we had 12 we had in this one here, I think we had 14 what do you call it, stitches. So make sure you're lining up your 14 stitches very evenly, and then you can go ahead and start joining. So I'll just show you how to join it here. So I'm just gonna go in this very first stitch here, and then I'm gonna pick up the other stitch on the other side, and I'm gonna pull. Okay, and I often like to have the string on the other side so that I can start to snatch the two sides all together from the very first stitch that I do, or the very first time I do. And again, I go and repeat that section one more time just to make sure that portion there, or that part there, is very secure. And then I'll go on to the next stitch, and I'm going to pick up both stitches on this side and both stitches on that side. And then I'm going to pull, and just make sure you're kind of playing with this yarn here and placing it in the right place as you go. So just like that. Okay, and then you're going to pick up the next, and then make sure you're lining it up with the stitch on the other side. And if you do this properly, you should, and if you have matching number of stitches on each side, you should have no problem lining up all of your stitches all the way to the end. So, and then I'm gonna just do this all the way until I reach the end. And when I get there, then come back and I will show you guys what to do for the next part. Okay, so just join your work until you get to this end here. Okay guys, so as you can see, I completed the very final stitch on top here, which is my final stitch. And that's pretty much how it looks like. This is where we joined it. So it looks very invisible. You cannot tell that that's where you joined it there, which is a good thing. Okay, and now that you have that, usually if this is left and it's too long, I would cut it, but it doesn't bother me. So I'll just remove my darning needle there and have it like that. Okay, and then we're gonna move on to the next part of this. Okay, so from here, I'm going to do a chain one and turn my work. And I'm going to slip stitch just right on top here to close this gap off. And this is the first step here. Okay, so that just kind of makes that complete circle there, because before there's a little bit of a gap. Now that I have that, I'm going to chain two. So 1, 2. And in this next stitch here, I'm going to do a double crochet stitch. Okay, just like that. And then in the next stitch here, I'm going to do a double crochet stitch. And by stitches, I don't actually mean stitches, because the way this work is built up, you have this area that kind of dents in, and then you have the area that protrudes. So I usually count those as stitches. So I do one on top of the section that protrudes right here. And then my next stitch is gonna go in the section that looks like a valley that kind of dents inward. Okay, and then I do another one on the part that protrudes, and then another one on the part that dents inward. Okay, so I call them valley and hills. And you just continue to do these all around until you come back to where your string is. Okay guys, so I have gone ahead and completed this first row here. Okay, so as you can see, that's how my wrist warmer looks. And then we just go back to where we're working in here. So now that I have that, I'm just going to slip stitch right in that gap here, just like that. Okay, and then I'm going to do a chain of 2, 1, 2. Then I'm going to turn my work like this, so I'm working back the opposite side, which means the outside here is facing me now. What we did right now, the inside was facing us. Okay, this row that we just completed. Now that I have this, I'm going to go ahead and do a double crochet right on top of the previous double crochet here, just like that. And then for the next, I'm going to grab the front of this double crochet and do a double crochet, which is a front post double crochet, just like that. Okay, and then in the next one, I'm going to do a normal double crochet. Okay, in the next one here, I'm going to do a front post double crochet. So this is going to create this nice pattern for our fingerless glove, and it's a good technique. I've done a sweater with this pattern, with this stitch pattern, and it does create a really good looking pattern on the material. And I will show you how I finished the other glove. So I'm just going to show you here. So you just continue to alternate this. Okay, so you just go, and then in the next one it's a front post double crochet, and in the next one a regular double crochet, in the next one front post double crochet. And this is pretty much what you do all around again until you come back to where our string is hanging, which is the beginning of the work. Okay, so go ahead and do that. When you get back to this where the string is, regardless of what stitch you end up finishing at the end there, come back and I will show you guys how to move to the next step together. And then I'm gonna have you guys pretty much repeat that for a couple of rows. Then you're gonna come back so we can create the thumb hole, and then you finish off the work, and that will be the end of it. And when you come back to, I will show you the completed one, because I've actually completed one. And I've adopted this technique where if I'm going to do 2 of the exact same for anything, I complete one first and then show you how to do the second, so I can actually show you guys how the completed one looks. And I think it does give you guys a better idea of what you're working towards, of what you're going to be making, instead of just it being the thumbnail picture that you see. I try to do that for anything that I have to do a repeat of a duplicate of that project. Okay, so anyways, I'll see you guys when you have completed this round. Okay, so I've completed the second row here, and as you can see, this is how it looks so far. Okay, and then so the last stitch that I did here is a front post double crochet, and then I'm just gonna go on top of that stitch and do a slip knot or slip stitch to close that gap off. Okay, and then I'm going to do a chain 2 and turn my work. And you guys know it. So now for this row here, we're going to be doing just a complete row of double crochet to create our spots where we're going to be doing the front post and the double crochet. So then you just continue to go into every stitch and just do your double crochets all around. And this is going to be what you're repeating here. Actually, the last 2 rows are the repeat rows, which is a row of double crochet, and then you turn it, you do a row of the alternation between the post, front post, and the regular double crochet. Each stitch has every other stitch has a regular double crochet, and every other stitch has a front post double crochet. Okay, so I will not finish these here. So you'll go ahead and finish your row of double crochet. You will do the very last one in this stitch here. Then you will join these 2 sections by doing a slip stitch on top of this stitch right here. And then when you turn your work to work back this way, you'll be doing this row that we just completed previously on the next one. So I'll show you how the completed one looks. So this is the completed fingerless glove here. Okay, so as you can see, obviously this is this part here, and then we're starting to create this pattern here. The thumb hole is right here. So what you're gonna do is we're going to complete 6 rows before we get to the place where we're going to create the thumb hole. So you're going to go ahead and do these rows here. So again, for you, you have to determine how far you want it or where you're going to do your thumb hole. So if I put mine on here, okay, so this is how my fingerless gloves goes on, and this is where my thumb hole is in comparison to where the actual fingerless gloves end. So it just covers my knuckles, okay, my first knuckles here, the first set of knuckles, like that. Okay, so you have to measure to see how far or how many rows you need to do before the place where you create your thumb hole. Mine is 6 rows, and then I'm gonna come back and show you guys how to do that thumb hole. So if yours is gonna take a little bit more rows to do, then do that number of rows, but make sure you're finishing on this row here, which is the row of the front post double crochet and then regular double crochet, post or double crochet and then regular double crochet. That's the row you should finish on before you come back, so I can show you how to do the thumb hole. Okay, so go ahead and do that. I will do my 6 rows. I already completed 2 here. I have my 3rd going, and when I have my 6 rows completed, I'll come back so I can show you guys how to create the thumb hole, and then we'll finish off the rest of the project here. Okay, see you guys in a bit. Okay, so I have completed my 6 rows here. So as you can see, that's pretty much how my six rows looks like. So for this 6th row here, which is the row of the alternation of double crochet, a regular double crochet, and then the front post double crochet, that's the row that we're on here. And as you can see, I have reached almost to the end, but there's a reason why I stopped there. So if you had gone all the way and completed it, please undo the last stitch that you did, and you should be able to have something that looks like that. So instead of me doing a front post double crochet right here, I don't, because we're going to be creating our thumb hole, and this space here is going to be our thumb hole. So to do so, I'm going to do a chain of 2, so 1 and 2, and then I'm going to slip stitch up here to make that space like that. So this is going to be my thumb hole. So just another thing here really quick, my thumb, as you can see, is not the biggest thumb there is. So if you do have a bigger thumb and this is not gonna be enough, please go ahead and remove that stitch and do 3 chains and then connect, because it's important that your thumb fits in that hole that you leave here. Okay, so that's just a point for you to make sure that depending on how big this hole is, then you just don't finish the last couple of stitches before you go and do the chains to be able to go into the other side and connect it. All right, so now that we have our thumb space here, we're going to do a chain of 2. Okay, and we're going to turn our work, and then we're going to do 2 double crochets in this space in here, because we're going to do our row of double crochets. Okay, so when you do your 2 double crochets in this space, then you just move on to the next stitch from there and do your regular double crochets all around. So you move on to the next, and then you do this until you get to the end. When you get to the very last double crochet right here, then you're gonna come back, because we're gonna need to connect to that side before we do our row of the front post double crochet. Okay, so do that, get to the end of this row, and then come back, and I will show you how to start off the next row, and then I'll pretty much have you guys finish the rest of the remaining rows, and then I'll come back so we can finish one final row at the end, and then we will be done. This pair, or this one mitten, or this one fingerless glove here, and then I will have you guys obviously do the second one, just rewinding the video. And if you don't remember, if you remember, you just repeat what you did with this first one, and then when we have both of them completed, we will come back to finish off the video. So I'll see you guys when you get to the end of this row. Okay, so this is the end of this double crochet row here, and as you can see, that's where I did my final double crochet. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and slip stitch to the other side, And that's that. And then I'll do a chain of 2 and turn. So now we're working on the outside of the glove. And then from here on, I'm just going to do what we've been doing, which is do our double crochet first, and then a post stitch, double crochet, a front post, a double crochet, a regular double crochet, a post stitch, double crochet. And you're gonna do these all around until you come back here, and then do your slip stitch up here to lock the 2 sides, and then do your row of double crochet, and then do another row of the post stitch. So we're going to do 4 more rows here. So after the thumb hole, we're going to do 4 rows and then come back. So we already have 2. So this is 1. The second one is the one I'm working on. I'm going to do 2 more after I finish this. Then I'm going to come back to do 1 more final row, which is going to be a different row than what we've been doing here, and that will be the end of the project. Okay, so do 4 rows of this after the thumb hole, and then I will see you guys in a bit. Okay, so I have completed the number of rows here, so 4 after we created our thumb hole. So I have 4 rows that I've completed, and we had 6 prior, so there's 10 rows here altogether of these stitches. And then of course this is the part that we did previously for our wrist portion of the wrist warmer. Okay, so I've gone ahead and slip stitched my work here, and then I'm gonna do 1 more row just to kind of snatch this area in a little bit, so as you can see how this looks like. Okay, so it just kind of brings it in a little bit so that it has a nice tight fit towards the end or at the end. Okay, so to do that, I'm just going to simply do a row of single crochet. Okay, and that's gonna be all we do, and then the project is done. So after that, after I do the slip stitch here, I just chain 1 and I turn my work, and I just go around, and on top of each stitch I'm going to do single crochet stitches. So just something very simple like that. Okay, and this is going to be the last row. So go ahead and complete this final row of single crochet stitches on top of each stitch, and then come back when you're at the end. Okay, so that is the end of the last stitch right there. So and then I'm just gonna go on top of the previous one and just do a slip stitch there to close that section off. Okay, and then I'm gonna cut this yarn here. Okay, and then I will just do a chain 1 there and then pull the string to close it off like that. Okay, so there you go. So now it looks much like this one here in terms of the finish at the edge, and that's the end of the project. So this is pretty much it here. So I will weave this one off camera. I will weave this section off as well as this here, so that it's as clean as the previous one here. And then I will have you guys go ahead and complete your second pair, because as you can see here, I have my 2 pairs completed. So go ahead, if you don't remember every single step, rewind the video to the beginning and duplicate the video for the second glove, and then come back when it's done. When it's all done, I'm gonna go take that time to weave in my edges here, my ends here, and then I will come back when we have finished both of them, and then we will pretty much conclude the video. See you guys in a bit. Okay, my lovelies, so the project is pretty much done here. So at this point you should have your 2 fingerless gloves completed, and they should look just identical like that. I love this pattern here so much. It does create a really nice texture that is very beautiful to wear on your beautiful hands. And yeah, that's pretty much it here. So I really appreciate you guys watching the video to the end. And if you like this video and you'd like to see either videos I've done in the past or videos I'll be doing in the future, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And make sure you like this video, give it a thumbs up if you like it, and as well comment if you have any questions. And I will see you guys in my next one. I post once a week, usually, sometimes maybe twice a week. But yeah, so if you do subscribe, you will see a lot of videos from me, and you will maybe find something that is something you would like to try. Okay, so thank you again, and I will see you guys in the next one. Kwaheri.